What is happening, everybody? Thank you for being here at All Access Live with Kevin Rankin. If you've come in here any place other than YouTube, I want you to do me a favor. Go to this link below. Go to youtube.com/@accesskevin. You can subscribe to this channel. I would love it. If you like this video, be sure you share it. You know you're going to want to. And if you choose to, you can also become a member of this channel. And if you become a member, you'll get access to a bunch of episodes that are only available to members. So I've gone to the backstage at certain events with Midge Ure from Ultravox and Cy Kernan from the F.O.X.E, hung out at the pool with Kelly Keegi from Night Ranger, some time with Howard Jones, and you never know, man. We may be on set and on location at the Super Bowl, hanging out, making fun of Patrick Mahomes, but we'll see. I do want to thank you guys. If you've come here anywhere other than YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Okay, now my next guest is 2024 Adult Video News Hall of Fame winner, Nikki Dial. She has a crazy history of both adult films, but she's also a family therapist. She's a recovery counselor, and she's about to change your world. So thanks for being here, Nikki Dial. What's happening, girl?
Hi, thank you for having me, Kevin.
I forgot to even ask you. In the link below, I put your Cameo page, and I love the idea that you do shout outs for people. So what a cool opportunity to get a little a friendly message from Nikki Dial. I think that's great.
Yeah, get a little extra love. Valentine's Day is coming up, so.
Ooh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I see a ton of your friends in the chat here, and I would imagine that some of these people, if you're chatting, if you do subscribe to the video, I would love it. If you become a member, I will actually give you a little feature here. We'll give you a shout out. So that's cool. But not only does Nikki do shout outs, but if you go, if you do a little web search, she does. She's got her Instagram, she's got her Twitter, she's got an opportunity to buy products. So you could get maybe some undergarments from Nikki Dial, which is a great Valentine's gift for, if you're a lady out there and you want to get a nice Valentine's gift for your guy, and
or
you're
yourself.
comfortable and confident enough, right? Well, are the outfits that you're selling, are those actually previously worn?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. So these are things that people can put away in their archives and, put them in a glass case. Do you, as a Hall of Fame winner, do you autograph those with AVN, signature as well?
I do. If they want that, yes, I do.
Nice. All right. Yeah. You got a ton of fans. I see.
I'm like distracted. I'm reading the comments.
I know, this is good. All right, so don't mind the people in the in the chat for now, because you never know. You might get some propositions. Get some.
Well, there's
but
two.
You know what I'd love?
There's Sweet Pea and RJ. I just want to say hi because I like them.
Nice, very good. Well, and Veronica's been here forever. Veronica 223 is like, she's been here since prior to us even going live.
Wow.
But
okay, I won't look anymore.
Now this is great. You're welcome to answer if you got questions that you want to answer, and those people, that's great. I had other people too prior to going live that said, "Oh my God, Nikki Dial, of course, got me through the most difficult times in my life." For me personally, I was familiar with your work. I was on the road in a rock and roll band through Montana, Idaho, Washington when I discovered Nikki Dial. So, and Dan Pancoast is here in the chat. Dan, I'm not going to out you, but Dan's quite familiar with the business. I think.
Hi, Dan.
Dan, you may have run across Dan before because he and Peter were I think, close. He was referred to as Danny South. He was Peter North's sort of understudy.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
And I've certainly heard you talk about your time with Peter, and actually, no, I've heard you talk about Rocco. That was like a big one. I mean,
that's like the most famous scene. It was on, oh my God, I always do this. What was that show? Billions? Wait.
Oh yeah, Billions. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They mentioned the scene on that. That was cute. And I like the way they did it. It was very respectful and it was fun.
Well, I actually haven't gotten through more than a couple of episodes, and I actually love Damian Lewis is an amazing actor. We've hung out. He's been on the road with a flock of seagulls. We played the same venue that his band did, and he actually went on late so that he could come over and hang out and chat. And
oh wow!
And I knew him from Homeland. I love Homeland.
Okay.
And Band of Brothers. So have you seen Homeland?
I can't. I have, but I can't say that I've seen more than a little bit.
We could just make this about reviews of like TV
Don't
series. Yeah. Well,
okay.
before we went live, if you guys are in the chat, Nikki challenged me to ask questions that have not been asked of her before. And
Yeah.
I've seen enough conversations with you to know that it's about the same 10 questions always. And I'm not going there.
Don't go there.
Where I want to start, all right, is when I first heard about you transitioning out of the adult industry
Mhm.
and you went into family therapy. You got your master's and
Mhm.
you did some counseling.
Mhm.
Okay, so I want you to talk a little bit about
Mhm.
relationship from your family. Where was therapy and counseling part of your life prior to actually going back to school?
Yes.
All right.
However, I was a teen and it was forced on me because I was
Mm,
somewhat troublesome in my
really?
high school year. Yeah. Oh, yeah. My poor
Okay.
mother.
What kind of trouble?
Oh, boys. I ran away from home. I drank. Um, sex was a big part of it. And
All right.
I know what maybe by today's standards, it's not extreme, but yeah, I put my mom through a lot. So she made me go to
Single mom?
counseling. Hmm?
Single mom?
Single mom. Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. So she made you go to counseling and okay. Let me just ask you, do you have kids?
I do not have kids.
Okay. All right. As a dad, I can the perspective I have is knowing when my kids may be going through some challenging times, you
Mhm.
feel helpless, right? I would imagine as a single mom, she sees her daughter growing up in an environment that, she'd love to know that her daughter wasn't out there getting in trouble and having sex and boys, my God, boys.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Older
I,
boys.
yikes, man.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
but the trouble that you can get into, I would imagine she felt helpless, right? So that's where the pushing
Mhm.
came from. You feel like you said it was forced on you, but you could probably see where her perspective came from, huh?
I do now. I do now, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I told this cat. Oh, it's so embarrassing. I'm gonna out myself. So I went to see
Do it.
the therapist. Georgianne was her name. Georgianne, if you're listening, you're probably not, but I'm very sorry. So I was 14 and my boyfriend was 19. I don't condone that. I counsel people now. I didn't know. I was dumb and young. Anyway, she said, but and he did not have a job. I won't out.
Oh,
So he was in 10th grade. I was in ninth grade and he was 19. I don't even know how that's possible, but I swore I was in love with him. I was so in love with him. And she took me to the counselor and the counselor said, well, okay, well, how do you see this playing out? Like, he doesn't have a job and this, that. And I was like, nope, I will work and I will pay the bills and I'll take care of him. My poor,
ooh.
I looked over her face and her mouth had dropped. We just talked about it the other day. And I was like, oh, mom, I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, at 14, the world is a different place, but
Yeah.
you still talked to your mom quite a bit. You got a good relationship with her.
Yes.
So, as she saw the development of Nikki Dial's career,
Yes.
you went, so I know you're a Pennsylvania girl. I've
Mhm.
heard that you've moved around quite a bit. When you moved to LA, I knew about you working in the clubs and how it kind of
Yes.
transitioned
Oh, yes.
into the industry. How much of that transition through the clubs and then magazines and into dancing and then eventual porn
Mhm.
did your mom know about then?
Well, I did porn first and then I danced after that.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, that's a natural progression. Boom, just jump in.
how did it, I'm sorry, how did it affect my relationship with
No,
my
I was
mom?
asking. Yeah, no, I was wondering how your mom, like, did your mom know about the entire process? Did you immediately say, "All right, I'm going to jump into this next"? Okay, you hid it from her for a while.
I hid it from everybody for as
Yeah,
long as I could.
I
And
bet.
yeah, she found out, somebody told her. Somebody she worked with told her.
Oh, somebody that had seen films and said, "Oh, there's your daughter." The only
Mhm.
reason I ask about the communication you had with your mom is as we get older
Mhm.
and you watch your kids. I'm going from the perspective of the relationship I have with my kids. I've got a 25 and a 23-year-old. The 25-year-old hit a transition at 25 that the frontal lobe development happened. The communication is completely different. His maturation. Oh, he's here in the chat. I'm sorry, Caleb. I'm outing you. His maturation blows my mind how quickly things changed. And I worried
Yes.
about it for a long time. And I would think that at the point where you and your mom were able to talk really openly about what you did for work, probably allowed her a little bit of a reprieve of, she was less concerned because she sees, okay, at least my daughter's making decisions that are their conscious decisions. She's not being trafficked, right? She's not being pushed around by a guy that's much older than her.
Yes.
I'm putting words in your mouth, but I'd love to
No,
know from
you are
your
correct.
end.
You are.
Okay.
She knows that every decision that I make, and that I don't want to say so much. They were my decisions when I was 18, 19, and 20, making movies. And I don't regret that. Nobody forced that. But especially as I've gotten older, the decisions that I make are all mine, and I own them.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with the decisions that I've made, be them good or bad, or the outcome, whatever the outcome, I'm very happy.
Yeah. Okay. So now you've decided at some point that you're going to stop doing movies.
Yes.
You went to school and was sort of the master's in social work. Is that eventually what you ended up getting your master's in?
It's in actually professional counseling. So it's
Okay.
LPC. Yeah.
And I know, I glossed over a bunch of your timeline. You did like some fitness modeling and fitness training and some competitions, right?
Yes.
So fitness and health has always been a big thing for you, but
Yes.
mental health, that's the stuff that I really want to get into.
Yes.
My degree was in sociology. I was working with youth counselor in counseling, and I felt like I was so much of an empath that I felt like if I'm going to put all this energy towards kids, I'm going to wait till I have kids of my own. And I'm going to be selfish and I want to go off and chase my rock star dream, right?
Yes.
For you, were you able to sort of take the experience you had when, okay, I grew up with a single mom, I grew up in maybe a less traditional lifestyle, and I could take those experiences and then turn this into an opportunity to help people that a lot of people may not get that perspective, right? If people go through school, they've had a traditional upbringing, they're not coming with the same tools because they didn't have that time in the street, right?
Yes. I took my experiences prior, all of my, also, we'll just kind of loop them into sexual experiences. I know not everything was sexual, but that whole period of time in my life, I originally was going to school for physical therapy because I was such an avid fitness person. But I was also in a relationship. This is what really catapulted me into counseling. I was in an abusive relationship, physically, mentally, emotionally. And I had a nervous breakdown. So I didn't even know they existed. So when they do, so I had a nervous breakdown. I sought counseling. I went to Seattle actually to stay with family. And I never went back to PT school. I was I was class president. I was like, I loved it. But I went into counseling from there. And it's funny because when I was in school, the whole time I was in school, I was still in this abusive relationship. But I had planned. I helped women who also were in abusive relationships. I had a plan when I graduated. I think the day I graduated grad school, I was gone. I had my plan. I had my bag, and I was out.
Okay. And so with your plan, you just brought up a couple things for me. There was a series that came out 2 years ago, I think, on Netflix called Made, where so you've seen the series.
I have not seen the series. Isn't that bad? I have not seen it, but I kind of know the gist of it.
Yeah. It's about, emotional abuse and women that are, they're drawn back into the relationship no matter how toxic that abuse is. And they have, she had a child. And so, people that watch something like that or in real life, when they watch relationships and they see somebody that's been abused, and from the objective point of view, you're like, oh my God, of course you need to leave this thing. But when you're in it, What is it that keeps women in a situation like, well, I mean, it happens to men too, for sure. But I
Mhm.
would say in less often the physical, right? But emotional abuse for sure. But for women, what is it that it just keeps women locked into a state like that?
For me, um, I began that relationship full of moxie, full of spunk, full of independence. I mean, like he knew what he was getting into. But time and it's just it wore me down. Just and it wasn't abuse is well, not often. It's not something that happens the next day and you just get punched in the face.
Sure.
It sneaks up on you sometimes so gracefully that you don't even know what's happening. I didn't know it was happening. I didn't know what was happening to me was abuse. And by the time I did, it was like I loved him. That doesn't stop. I was afraid of him. Um, I was so worn down and just like I didn't think I could do any better.
Mm.
It wears you down emotionally, break you down. And I did have places to go. So I feel for women who really don't have a safe place to go when they want to leave their abuser. And I think it takes what's the average, like 7 attempts.
Is that what they say? 7.
Yeah, I don't know
Okay.
what. Don't quote me. I don't know what it is. It may have
Yeah.
changed, but 7 attempts till the. I don't want to always say woman because men are abused too. But
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
And it's a tragic thing. I mean, I was talking about that series and thinking about some other examples of people that I know in those situations. Unfortunately, like someone they don't get out in time too, which is it's
yeah,
a horrible thing. And I hate to sound so somber. I mean, I want to keep things light and positive,
yeah,
but this is reality, right? And
yeah.
so chances are that sometimes some women that watch this show or men, if they see this show and they're in a situation that they recognize is not
Mhm,
healthy, um, being able to talk to someone about it is
mhm,
key.
mhm.
And I feel like, you could tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like now there's less of a stigma about getting help for
Yes,
emotional development, right? I mean, it really,
I
I
agree.
think there's more wellness focus
Mhm,
right now, and emotional development. Being emotionally mature is really
mhm.
key and something I'm working on a daily basis. But yeah, Vernon, so Vernon asked in the chat, you're now a therapist. So yeah, she is. So let's talk a little bit about you got through school. What was the goal? Did you want to work in a practice of your own, or were you going to work in a facility, or what was the goal?
I don't know if I had a specific goal the moment I stopped. I just knew that the people that helped me, I wanted to do the same for women, not just women, for anybody. So so you have to do an internship and a practicum. And the internship that I did is I worked at a child advocacy center. So I worked with children who are victims of sexual abuse and the non-offending family members. And then I also did like just private therapy, not family therapy, but individual therapy. So I worked with
Okay.
children from the ages from 2 to probably 15 or 16, and they're non-offending family. And I'll tell you what, it broke my heart.
Yeah.
You have to watch the forensic interviews and go through the whole process with these families. So I knew I knew I didn't want to do that. I loved it, and I'm
Yeah.
grateful for the time that I had, and it really helped me in family therapy because there were times in family therapy that you do find out somebody discloses sexual abuse, and I was
Sure.
very, but yeah, that's where I started. I think I went well off what you asked me.
No, I mean, this is really key. And like
Yeah.
this podcast is really geared less to be sort of formed questions. I don't necessarily want to have contrived questions. I love the conversational part of this. And, you and your industry, I think, in the current industry that you've been in is really important to shed some light on. And I know for me, I worked in a facility that was similar, right? So I worked with kids that were sexually abused. They were in a residential facility away
Mhm.
from the family because a lot of times they were offending family members, but
Yeah.
it was also a facility that had other offenders in it, kids that
Mhm.
were both mostly they were in for lesser crimes, but it
Mhm.
was because of the funding in Montana that's how they had this facility. And it truly it took a huge toll on my
Mhm.
emotional state for these
Yeah.
kids. And I will tell you, a beautiful thing was that there were two sisters that came in at a young age. They were horribly abused, and um, I tried to do what I could to normalize their life when I was in there and understand, that, oh my God, the cycle that happens for these kids is horrible
Mhm.
too, right? Because once they get out and become adults, their natural pattern is to continue that kind of abuse.
Yes.
But I saw one of the sisters on tour last year. She came out with her family to one of my shows, and she was so well adjusted. She came out with her kids. I met her husband,
Wow.
and it was everything I could have hoped for 25, 30 years ago. That oh my God, it actually worked. Like this girl,
Yeah.
because you never know. Sometimes these kids go away and you don't know what's going to happen in the future. But
Listen, all
um,
you can do is plant a seed, and you never know where it is going to be watered.
yeah,
So
yeah. But you you've maintained the moxie you were talking about. I've listened to some of your
I got it
podcasts and it's
back.
fun. You found your fire, which is a
Yeah, I did.
beautiful thing. And how much of what you do right now is working with couples?
Um, maybe 10-20%. It
Okay.
used to be, well, family therapy, you go and you work with the whole family. It's
Yeah.
so it's, you do couple sessions, or if they're married, individual, and then family sessions. So
There's a lot of anonymity here, so I'm trying not to, to break anybody's, sort of, privacy. But those couples and family, you probably have some crazy stories about. Have you had
oh yeah. Oh
parents
yeah.
find out about your past and the questions
No.
come up during? No,
No, can you believe
never
that?
happened.
Please don't out me, anybody. My God. Um,
Well,
I
it's
don't
gonna happen. You know this, right? It is.
well, I don't really work with children anymore. So it is what it is. You know what? If they find whatever, I didn't do
Oh,
anything
okay.
illegal, um,
No, no, no.
but no, nobody. If they did, I didn't know. So I think, like, if my employers did, they didn't say anything.
Sure.
So
I'm picturing you with, trying to counsel a couple. They may be, they're on the rocks. They're trying to, and the guy's like
I
sizing you up.
believe that has.
You're like,
Yes. We had to go, and we were partners. So you had to go in, two counselors went in, because there's so much going on. One person cannot capture,
right.
everything that's happening. So her and he was filming us, like, low key with his phone. And
No.
yeah. And I'm like,
Mm,
I think he's like looking at me funny. She said, you know what, he is. I feel it. And we
mm.
asked him, we said, sir, are you recording? Please, you can't do that. So we
Yeah.
got off the case. Mhm.
That's a little creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Valentine's Day. There's pressure
Yeah.
around couples right now to be, sort of performing in this relationship. So, um, do you feel like you've got well, what percentage of like new couples do you have coming in and sort of trying to plan on resolving issues in the relationship early on?
Like, they want to come in and resolve it right away.
Yeah, like so say there's a new relationship, a couple of months in, and they see some rocky starts and they want to potentially just like cut things off at the pass. So rather than try and work things out themselves, but they think, okay, well, we'll get an objective person who's actually a professional. We're going to go to Nikki. Uh, I'm sure there's a different name other than your AVN star name, but
Don't
that
use that.
they're going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine not. But they go in and see Nikki to get an objective professional perspective. Um, do you see that early in relationships, or do you see it later on when it may be too late?
Mostly early on. They know when
Okay.
they come in that,
Yeah.
it's often one person wants to be there more than the other. So we
Okay.
have to work
You
that out first.
how do you work that out? How do you, I mean, can you tell when somebody first walks in, can you say, okay, this is not going to work. This relationship is not destined to last.
Do I say it, or can I can tell? um, I will say that, there are times where, yes, you can tell it's just,
Yeah.
it's not. it's not going to, and sometimes that's the best thing, right? Sometimes they don't, it's better for them to part.
Well, sure. I mean, there are a lot of people that shouldn't be together,
Right.
but I'm just trying to imagine how you might say that to someone. You know, you've got a couple that's come in a couple of times, and you can see writings on the wall. You know, it would be difficult, I would imagine, to be able.
I don't
You
tell
tell
them.
them both, or do you? Oh, you
I
don't
don't
ever.
no. I
Well, I
leave
guess
them
that makes
to the
sense.
process
Okay.
where a light bulb goes off, or, you know, it's their idea. I don't
Okay.
ever tell somebody that, unless it's an unsafe situation or there's abuse, or you know, something, or it's very unhealthy. And even then, it's, you know, I don't, that's not my position to tell people whether or
Sure.
not they should or shouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I think again. I'm thinking of my own situation. I was married 28 years. Definitely, I'm like best friends with my ex-wife, and we did some counseling. But I really feel like we went at the end of the relationship when it was not. You know, there were some
Oh,
irreconcilable
okay.
things. You
I
know,
misunderstood your question. I got it now. Okay. Do they come in the beginning? They come towards the end of the relationship. I bet.
yeah. Well,
Yes.
you know, and that was in my case. I mean, I think we went too late, but you know, I think our relationship truly had run its course. You know, and
Yeah.
I'm grateful that we're still great friends. And I think maybe counseling helped at the end to make sure that that relationship stayed solid. But I mean, can we talk about your own personal relationships? You
Yeah.
mentioned, I think you've been married in the past and divorced,
Yes.
right?
Married and
Was it
divorced.
amicable?
No.
Okay. Did you do therapy or counseling before getting divorced?
I did my own therapy.
Okay.
We did some. That was the person who was abusive. So,
Oh
and
shit.
controlling.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
the therapy, it's hard when you have somebody who's controlling and like very narcissistic, because they try to control the whole environment. So even
Yeah.
if you don't have a savvy counselor, they'll get wrapped up in it too. Which mine did not. I'm very happy. But yeah, he tried to control the counseling sessions. So yeah, that didn't work.
Control it from outside, or did he actually attend some counseling with you?
Well, we were attending together,
Okay.
both.
Yeah.
So
All
when I
right.
was going by myself, you know, you get all of the questions, want to know everything. But when we went together, he would try to control the environment then.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the
Yeah.
gaslighting that goes on in some of those relationships, it's tough. I think, you know, I'm really asking these questions more from an informative, helpful state for people that, you know, I know, like I said, I think now the climate is different for
Mhm.
people in general, men and women, to be able to seek out some mental health.
Mhm.
But a lot of guys in the past were unwilling to do therapy, you know? And so
Right.
I've had a ton of friends where their relationships were on the rocks and the woman would go and the guy refused. He's like,
Yeah.
you need the help, you know, you
Yeah.
go and
You go
everything's
get
going to be ready.
fixed. Come back.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and yeah, I would think at that point, the writing's on the wall for them too. If you're in a relationship and your partner won't go to therapy or counseling with you to try and make things better, that should be pretty obvious, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
relationship is destined for failure.
Yes.
I so in the chat, Veronica, like I said, she's been here for a long time. Um, and
Okay.
she asked, when you meet someone, can you tell he or she is controlling? Well, sure. I mean,
Yeah. There's,
well, I don't, it depends, I guess, on how confident you are, right? Because you talked about having tons of moxie and self-confidence, and over time, the relationship wore you down to a point
yeah.
where you were a little insecure about yourself, right? So,
I'll never forget the first time. This is how the first time he ever said something to me that was like, wait a minute, because I like my drinks. Everybody knows that I like my wine and my whiskey. And I met him at a bar. He did not drink, so he was the owner of the bar, but I was there, and I was going to do a shot of Jack at a party one night, and I had it, and he looked at me and said, "If you do that shot, don't bother coming home with me." And I didn't know quite where that came from. And it seems like, you know, it's not the worst thing somebody could say to you. And at the time, I looked at him dead in his eyes and I just went, that's how I went. Okay, I'm not coming home. But that was the first, looking back, that was like the first thing that he said that was, and it was the tone, and he meant it.
Yeah. How'd you meet?
He owned a bar club.
So you met him there drinking that night. I mean, not that night, but you met him, like the place that you met at was the same place that he said, "Hey, don't." Okay. So, I'm thinking about that environment, right? He owns the club. He's in his own space. So he's got all the power, right? He's got all the control. Yeah. So the environment was already laid for him to control the narrative, and just, you played into it without even knowing. And what was his pickup line to get you? You remember?
No. I don't even remember. I remember him walking through a room, and I remember watching him walk, and I said, "I'm going to marry him." I didn't even know him. I had no idea who he was. Mm-hmm.
Had you been married prior?
No.
Interesting. All right, but you just knew. So I am in a new relationship, and my wonderful girlfriend, I talked to her the other day about the conversation I was going to have with you. I love the perspective, from women, especially for women who have been in the industry, in the porn industry, because you oftentimes would hear about women in the industry having come from pretty rough childhood, or they've they've been forced into it. And from what it sounds like, I mean, not only were you not forced, unless, correct me if I'm wrong, but I love that you dictated your own path. You had your control. So you had the power play. You were in control of your life. And so your perspective, I think, is really key for other women to empower themselves. And I love the empowerment sort of perspective. So she had asked, I said, what would you ask if you were, what would you want to know from someone in the industry?
Okay.
One of the things she said was, how has it affected relationships you've been in for, I would imagine, you hear about people dating within the industry. Like if, you dated some of your co-stars in the past, correct?
I have a few.
Okay. Yeah.
One.
All right. A few.
A few. No, one, a few. We'll say a few.
Okay.
Men and women.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, outside the industry though, and when they find out, or, maybe they've already known, but how did that affect your relationship down the road, knowing that at one point your career was to have sex?
This is after I retired, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to say I've been pretty fortunate. I've had a few assholes, that really did me a favor in the end, but for the most part, I'm very upfront. Like even if most people in my hometown know, and the people that I dated here, they already knew. But those who didn't, I'm very upfront about what my past is. And my biggest thing in life, my father taught me this, was to give people the choice. Choice is key. So in the beginning, I say, this is my past. I don't want you to hear about it from anybody else other than me. We can talk about it. I won't be offended, or if you can't or won't or don't want to, but the choice is yours. And I want to give you that choice before we get into this. And you're like, I love you. And then you find out. I feel like that's deceptive.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I think because I handled it maybe that way, it was better for me and them.
When do you tell them? Like at what point in the relationship?
Oh, like really quickly.
Like first date, you're having dinner, and
probably.
By the way,
yeah.
Okay.
First or second. Yep.
I mean, that's a generous thing on your perspective. I don't necessarily want to paint the exact parallel, but what you've done in the past and what I do for a career is not that dissimilar. I mean, it's a challenge to date a musician in a band that's on the road all the time. And in the past, it has been a real difficult thing for confidence and security. Somebody has to be really solid in themselves to date me. I mean, they've got to be confident in everything. And I mean, if they go into the relationship and they don't know me, it'd be really tough to trust. So I understand it. And I try to be as upfront and open and communicative as I can. And try to be generous in those things, but also understand that, at the end of the day, I can only be myself, right? I can't
Absolutely.
change their perspective on it. So you,
Yes.
you mentioned there were some assholes. Was it judgment that you got from some people at that point?
So there are two that come to mind, and
Okay.
I did not know at the time they were judging me. So I did my whole spiel, and they were like, "Okay, this is fine. I'm okay with it." And da, da, da. Well, one guy was a scout. I can't remember, for Villanova, I think,
Okay.
basketball.
Yeah.
And he sat me down after he had. Well, I say that like they courted me, right? I say courted. How I'm showing my age, but like they dated me. They put all this effort in, and then he sat me down and said, I just can't do this. And I said, okay, well, did something change? I get it. He said, I can't look at the other parents when I go when I'm with their children and I'm responsible for their kids, the high school kids he was recruiting. He said, I can't tell them who I'm dating, and I can't bring you around them, so I can't be with you.
Wow.
Okay, bye. And then the other one, what he knew who I was, and the same thing. We went through all of this, and then he all of a sudden one day said, "You know what? I can't take you home to my mother."
Mm.
So bye. I was like,
That's
okay.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I it's so sad, right? I mean, the insecurity thing, it's going to happen for sure, but
Yeah.
at this point, I would imagine that most of the dads that got to, if they brought you home to their dad would be like high five and saying, "Nice job, kid."
Yeah.
You, I I just now checked the Instagram feed, which doesn't show up in the chat that you're looking at here, and missed it. But Darren Linder is a great friend of mine. He's an incredible, he's involved in the music industry here in Portland, works at all the bigger venues. And when I posted that you and I were going to be having this conversation, he jumped over the moon. So Darren, yes, here, Nikki's here, man. She's live. This is this, probably trying to work at this music venue right now and paying more attention to our
That's
chat.
funny.
So,
That's hilarious.
um, well, as far as like those relationship things go, I mean, you had some public ones. We talked a little bit about Corey. Corey Feldman was an ex of
Yeah.
yours, and I run into Corey fairly often. We do. It seems like we'll do some music festivals.
Mhm.
We did an all-inclusive week-long '80s thing in Cancun a couple years ago,
Oh, okay, fun.
and those are bonuses, right? And you get to get paid to go hang out on the beach for a few days and
Can't
and
beat
uh,
that.
just get spoiled. But one thing that I heard in a conversation you had about him was just how sweet and kind and supportive he was to you.
Yeah,
That he gets dogged a lot in the industry
I
because of
know.
some quirks, and
Yeah.
and I mean, I wondered a lot of times when I see some of the posts that he would put out there, like, okay, this guy knows how to work the marketing machine. Like this is more gimmick and to get attention than it is
He's
him
very
actually.
smart.
Yes, yeah. So there's probably not a lot of accident
Yeah.
in some of that promotion. But um, have you had any other sort of political, or I mean, some not political, some celebrity relationships that have been high profile?
Um, yes. I don't know about high profile, but I mean the people may have been,
Yeah.
but the relationship was not. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I just wonder about how publicity affected those relationships. If one or
Mhm.
both of you guys, or if you're in the spotlight,
Mhm.
having attention on that can certainly damage the relationship itself. So did that affect the outcome of that relationship?
I wouldn't say it was any relationship that I've had was somebody who was in the public eye. It was not the publicity that ruined it. Yeah.
Okay. You're really good about not like it sounds like you've dated some douchebags. I'm just gonna say it. And you've been really good about not outing them, which is great. Yeah.
Here's my thing in life. Like I
Yeah.
don't out people. If I believe in karma, or what comes around goes around. And I don't believe in lying for people either.
Sure.
Okay. So that
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. Um, they know who they are. you know, but I won't maybe outright say it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's fair. They'll get what's coming to them. One might
Unless
hope.
I write a
Yeah.
book. How about that?
Oh, yeah. Is that something that's in the works?
No. I get offers often.
Yeah. I'll bet.
Often. Yeah.
I mean, so, our mutual pal, Ginger Lynn, has been working on our book for a long time, and she talked
Yeah.
about the chapters. And what she had mentioned is that rather than outing those people and naming them, I don't know if she's told you this, but she's
No.
got footnotes where there will be references throughout where the names won't be there in any of those chapters, but she's going to mix up all the names, just scatter them
Oh, how
throughout the
funny.
end of the footnotes, and you get to pick and choose who you think might line up with those stories. And
Ah,
oh my
that's
god,
brilliant.
yeah, she's and she's got some good ones. She didn't actually hold back. She was fine sharing plenty of those stories on the podcast, which I
I've
think
heard some of them.
I'm sure. God,
Yeah.
she is a kind of a walking podcast. I told her, I said, if I
Mhm.
just filmed you all day long, I would imagine, and if I was
Oh,
looking for viral content,
yeah.
she cracks me up. And, uh, all right. So then the last time I saw her, she came out to our show. I sent you some pictures, right? She came to our show
Yes.
in Vegas, and she came out with Rebecca Love, and together those two were hilarious. And I felt like I um, I love that they can find joy pretty much wherever they go. So
Yeah.
for you, and a big part of it too was the music thing. They were really, really into the show. It was fun to take them
Okay.
backstage and show them that environment, how different backstage was at a show that we had versus maybe on set, right? It's a
Yes.
completely but there are some similarities, right? Craft services, pretty much the same as our green room, But
Yeah.
but musically, do you go out and check out live music very often?
I I love music. I don't like big crowds anymore, so that
Mm.
prevents me. I did see the last band I saw was Journey.
Oh yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Dean, their drummer. Drummer's a great friend of mine. Dean
Okay.
Casanova. Wicked,
Yeah.
wicked drummer. And the bass player for the band too. Both Portland guys, actually, as a matter of fact. So
Really? Okay.
but when did you go?
I went not was it last summer? It might have been last summer. It was outside. It was in
Okay.
Ohio.
Yeah. Well, right now, and you're in the East Coast, it's not the best weather to be doing outdoor shows, but
No,
yeah.
not right now. But yeah,
Yeah,
I love Prince was my favorite to go see. I saw him 3 times. I
hold
know.
on, let's see. Can I show you this one? Like that's my guy.
No. Oh, you have the symbol.
Yeah. Prince was that's why the purple. Yeah, Prince was
Oh
my
my
all-time
God.
favorite artist for sure. And
All
I will
right.
tell
Well,
you,
kindred
you know,
spirits that way.
amen, girl. That for me, growing up in rural Montana, where I was this long-haired rock and roll dude amidst a bunch of redneck cowboys and everybody that was conforming to one look and one kind of attitude, I wanted to be exactly the opposite, and I loved not being
Yeah.
defined by that. And I love that Prince was all about that, right? He didn't give a
Oh
shit what anybody thought.
God.
He wasn't going to be defined by a name or a genre
No.
or anything. The symbol became his rebellion, which I loved. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I knew I was going to marry him too.
yeah, man. Well, you know what? I was straight, but I was so connected to him that I felt like
Yeah.
I really felt like, and it sounds woo woo and cheesy, but I really felt like his spirit was part of me too.
Yeah.
I, you would see the attitude. Yeah,
Oh,
and like his music and his attitude, his swagger. My God. Well, it's okay. So it's Super Bowl weekend. His Super Bowl was the greatest Super Bowl of all
oh,
time. Right? I mean, I
was
will
it?
I will put his up against anybody. Right?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
and or I was just sharing the that show in particular where he did his medley and then he was coming out, and you've probably seen the documentary that says that the producer that put the whole show together said, "Oh man, the rain is starting up," and it gets to the point where he has to sing Purple Rain. He's on
Yes.
that slick plexiglass stage, and the producer said, "What do you want us to do?" And he said, "Well, can you get it to rain any harder?" And he's got the 6-inch heels, and he's running
Yes.
on, and
He's so
yeah, no,
badass.
but so badass. Rest in peace, Prince, man. Yeah.
Well, I was when I was I don't remember I was in Minneapolis, but I don't remember the club I was at. And I went, and the guy that was with me knew how much I loved Prince. And listen, I went there with I went to his stores. Remember when he used to have the
Oh
stores?
yeah. Still
Um,
does.
does he still?
Oh, there's a print store. There's a print store in Minneapolis Airport that I hit every time I've done on the
What's
podcast.
it
I've gone
called?
through and it's the print store.
Okay, because I
It's
used
an
to think there was a name. There was a
well, now he's got Paisley Park. That's actually, I mean, at his home where he has a studio.
yeah.
There's a huge store and a gift shop and all that. But you can go and tour Paisley Park. So is that where you're
Oh,
talking
well,
about?
yes, I got a private tour.
Oh man, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Only Nikki Dial gets a private tour of Paisley
I
Park.
got to ride on his the little
the motorcycle.
hmm?
Well, he has his
You know, he
motorcycle.
had the stage, and he would come out. He would ride his little, not the escalator. My words, they're failing me right now.
No, that's all right. But
yeah, I stole the guitar pick. I wasn't supposed to do that, but I did.
that is awesome. Yeah, man. We could probably do a whole episode on Prince. Actually, you know, I know that people were not expecting that here in the chat, but man, he well, you know, the way that you controlled your narrative getting into the industry, it's pretty awesome too, man, because you know, you sort of buck the norm. You know, well, hold on. Before we even go into that, it's Super Bowl weekend. People that are watching this might not realize that even though you're in Pennsylvania, you're not rooting for the Eagles.
I'm not, but I'm not rooting for Kansas City.
I know. How on earth did you become a Cowboys fan?
Oh,
what? Come on.
All right. So it was the colors.
Oh, the star too, or just the colors?
It was the colors and the cheerleaders. But this was like back when I was impressionable with it. You know, I was
sure.
Before that, I used to like the Bears.
Oh,
when I was like 9, because my dad did.
Logo?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that was about the time, the Super Bowl shuffle, right? So,
yeah.
But the color. I mean, I was a Cowboys fan when I was young too because of the cheerleaders. But I was barely hitting puberty, you know. And then when I was able to make my own choices and realize that the Cowboys were.
No, I stuck with it.
All through Jerry Jones, man.
Sorry,
I can't. I can't go there.
You already know I don't like him.
Yeah.
I like the team. I don't like the owner.
Well, how do you follow them through, man? Like this horrible. They've had a rough go, right? I mean, Dak Prescott, that signing is probably not the best long-term signing for the Cowboys. I'm just saying, man.
Some people follow players, and some people follow teams. Yeah. So I follow a team, not necessarily
your team. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, a few years, because my side hustle, right? I don't have an OnlyFans, as much as you might be surprised by that, but I've got a web marketing business, a multimedia thing, and Mike Vanderjagt had been first a kicker for the Colts. He was going to be a Hall of Fame kicker, most accurate kicker, but he was playing for the Colts, and he talked a bunch of shit about Peyton Manning, and so they cut him. And we finished his website. We're going to do a PR win to try and help him, and it didn't help him because he got fired just like right when we were launching the website. But the website was in blue and white, Cowboys colors mostly. So we just said, oh, you know what? Let's just keep the website. We're just going to get different uniform. So they flew me down to Dallas before they opened the new Texas stadium, the old Texas stadium was where they were playing. All of the lockers were the old lockers with Roger Staubach and Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith. All those lockers were still in the locker room. And the benches, they had wood benches at that stadium. But I had the whole stadium to ourselves to shoot video and marketing content for Mike Vanderjagt. And I brought my Seahawks cap and I put it on. And he said, what are you doing? Here, $20, go to the pro shop and buy a Cowboys hat. I'm like, nope. I went out on the Star. I did my T.O. impersonation out on the Star with my Seahawks hat. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to bow to the power of the boys, but you know what? I mean, I'm proud of you for keeping the your spirit, like chasing them, cause
I keep looking over here because my dog keeps pawing me.
Oh yeah. Does she want to be on camera? You can put her on cam. Come on. What's your dog's name?
Lucy, come up.
Lucy. Oh God, this is hilarious.
Hold on.
Veronica, like, oh, hello, Lucy. Oh, she's a brindle just like my pug. Oh man. Here, hold on. We need to Lucy. My God. This is Edgar Allan Pug right there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So it's funny because you posted on your Instagram yesterday, Lucy just sprawled out in a very pornographic
Oh,
pose. And like, hey, you know, it's like she could have her OnlyFans account on her own, you know,
she
that
could.
uh, when you posted that, the funniest thing was I told you I've been sharing as you
Mhm.
have this promotion for our conversation, and my ex-wife said, "Ha ha ha! Maybe she'll recreate the pose that my
Oh,
dog did." She sent me a picture of her dog, and it looked exactly like Lucy today.
oh,
So I think
really?
that's the tendency. I think they just do that.
I
But
don't really know what she is, but
you don't
oh,
know what breed? Was she a rescue?
yes. I'm
Let's talk
big on rescue
dogs.
dogs. This is very bright
Yeah.
now. I'll try to
No, but you did it. It'll change in a minute, right?
it'll
I think
change.
if you guys are watching this, Nikki has this amazing color shifting camera that actually it recognizes her radiance,
It
and in the
you're giving
moment,
me way too much credit.
uh, is this so speaking of, we're talking about OnlyFans, you're doing some content creation on the side, right? So
Yes.
if because I'm sure that your fans that are here in the chat probably already know this, but not only does Nikki provide cameos and you can get some of her merchandise, but you can also subscribe to her OnlyFans,
Yes.
where you can also be a part of Nikki's uh, personal life, right?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
get more. You
Yeah.
get a lot of up close and personal, and behind the scenes and things like that.
Yeah. I do you feel like, because obviously OnlyFans was never around anything like this, an opportunity to do self promotion back in the day when you were doing the adult industry.
Mhm.
Were you able to kind of like when you're not shooting a film, how
Mhm.
are you able to kind of make extra money on the side?
Back then, I really didn't need
Yeah.
to. Um,
Yeah. It was
you
just,
know,
you were flush with,
we were paid well. I did like magazine shoots and things like that. Anything that didn't have to do with making a movie because I was already signed. But I
sure.
had free reign to go do other kind of photo shoots and fun things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that because magazines that were featuring a lot of the starlets that were out there,
Yeah, the camera. I know.
oh yeah, yeah. Oh, thanks, Caleb. Yeah,
I'll
so
put one of these lights off. Hold on.
okay.
Don't mind me.
No, this is great. Some of the people in the chat have said this is the best interview with Nikki. All right, let's see how this goes. You know,
It's probably made it
all right.
worse.
No, well, when you come back on, let's see if it adjusts. And when you
Oh,
yeah, it looks like you've actually not seen the sun in some time with that light so bright. Right, you're
it makes my
well.
skin
This
look
is
so clear.
oh, that's right. Smooth everything out. The with those magazines, I was just thinking about how they seek you out and say, "Hey, you know what? You've got to break in these shoots. You've just had these features. We're going to put you in like whatever penthouse, like Hustler, whatever." Um, the was because I would imagine the pay because we could talk about pay. Um,
Yes.
as you know, I just before you and I got online, I had Mike Horner on the phone. We were talking about his part of the career. He had over 2,000 movies that guy did between the 80s all the way up to like 2008,
That's
and
crazy.
it's unreal. And he was saying, yeah, he said, well, but the pay scale for men was never as good as for
No.
women, right? Especially
No.
at the tier. I mean, you guys were both top tier, performers, but
Yes.
you didn't have to do the extra work, right? They made sure
No.
that you were paid well enough that you're doing all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think back then I did one movie a month. Um, I believe it was two sex scenes and a lot of dialogue. Um, I think there we go.
Nice. Yeah, that's nice. That's a nice
There
nice
we
soft
go.
glow. That's
Okay.
good. Yeah. I
What's
like thank you, Caleb. My son is the editor here. This is good.
that, Caleb? Nikki's
That's
camera's
yeah,
a bit overexposed. Thank you.
you know what? Man, Nikki's life has been overexposed, right? So
Thank
nothing wrong with that. That's all
I
good.
don't
You can use that tagline. That works. No, but all right. So we're going back to uh
overexposure.
you do two sex scenes, you had a bunch of dialogue, and you said one a month or two a month?
I was signed to do one movie per month.
Okay. And that was a contract that you had with
That was a
the
contract, and we did
agency.
6
Okay.
months and 6 months. Yeah.
Amazing. So you had a lot of extra time on your hands.
I did. It was nice though. I
Yeah.
was 20 years old and living.
Living life. We're living in LA, I'm sure, right?
Yes.
What'd you do in your
Yeah.
off time?
I had friends, but they weren't in the movie industry, a lot of them. So I did a lot outside. I had some family, but mostly just friends. In your
Just
20s, it's
hanging.
all about the friends. Dating,
Yeah, clubbing. Yeah, clubbing and dating. Yeah.
coming and
See, it's
dating.
it's so funny when I think about having time off. I was in LA last week. There's a big music event that was happening, and did a great podcast recording at the Ritz-Carlton downtown, right above like Staples Center. And all I
Wow.
wanted was that day off to go over to Catalina. I love it, man. Did you spend some time over
Oh,
there on the island?
I never did.
What? Are
Don't
you
tell,
kidding me?
don't tell anybody.
Oh, Nikki, it's 12
I
miles off the coast. It's actually
I
like going to
know.
Greece or Italy, and you happen to be right there
I
in LA.
know. I will go. I will go back. I'll go
All
back.
right. Yeah. Well, if you go back, I mean, I was thinking of our schedule. A Flock of Seagulls is doing a big summer tour, and I'm sure we're probably. I don't want to out your city if you're not public about it, so I won't say. But I know we're in Pennsylvania for sure.
Okay.
But we just announced like the Greek in LA, which is one of my favorite. At the Greek Theater up there, and the
Yes.
um, they have you been to a show there by chance?
At the Greek?
Yeah.
No. Mm-mm.
Never have. Okay. I
No.
had just a fun. The first time we played there was prior to the pandemic, and we
Okay.
played right after Ringo Starr's All-Star Band, right? So the promoter came in and said, "Oh, you were in the chair that Greatness was in the day before." And I'm
Wow.
looking at this room and just astounded by, the history that was at the place. And in that room, there's this ladder that went up through the ceiling. And my curiosity, right? I climbed this
Okay,
ladder,
great.
pop this, and it's a skylight to go on the roof of the Greek, and it's like steep tiles, and I'm shimmying down the tiles to see what I can see, and I'm looking down over the crowd of the bands that are just opening up
Oh,
for us. It was the greatest rock star
that's
moment,
surreal.
and and I thought, okay, if I slide, it's a couple hundred feet, I'm dying, but what a cool rock and roll way to go, right? If you're gonna fall like off this roof of the Greek, yeah. Were you a
Yeah.
risk taker?
Pardon?
Were you a risk taker?
Um, I'd like to think I was a little
Yeah.
bit. I mean, I went bungee jumping.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Are
Does
you,
that count?
well, yeah, no, because I think you talk about your career development and making these choices for yourself, and not being afraid to take risks, like going
Mhm.
after
Oh, that kind of
both.
risks, you know.
Well, all sorts of risks. I mean, but because I think of like in so you've done okay, so there is a tie in here. I swear,
Yes.
recovery counseling.
Yes.
You've worked with a lot of people with substance abuse issues, both alcohol and
Yes.
drugs.
That's my
Okay.
favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sam's, I used to have the number actually for people to be able to call and talk um, to reach out if they've got an
Mhm.
issue. Let me plug that phone number on here real quick in the chat. But tell me about the substance abuse. What is it that, okay.
So,
I was going to tell you first before you do.
okay.
The reason I was parlaying all that in is that people have addictive personalities are oftentimes drawn and driven towards those kind of like adrenaline
Okay.
seeking and those rushes, so I wondered if, even though you mentioned that you love your booze, if there was maybe a background in substance abuse that drove you into both pursuing it and then
No.
also maybe being a risk taker.
No. Nope.
Okay.
No, actually, I probably drink more now than
Oh,
I didn't even drink when I did movies.
really? Okay. And
Mm-mm.
back in the day, I mean, because I guess early 90s was the tenure for most of your films, right?
Mhm.
And so you just came out of the 80s. I mean, the 80s were a time of excess.
I
And I
came
was thinking
out
about,
in the movie. I did my first movie. I think it was 1992.
okay.
It was 92.
And so I don't know. I mean, I would imagine that there was still plenty of excess that was happening in the industry at that
Mhm.
time. Rock and roll, porn industry, they all kind of brought overlaps.
Yeah.
So were you seeing a lot of it then? A lot of drug and alcohol use in the biz?
No, but I didn't look for it. I think I was very naive as far as like drugs went then, because I smoked weed in high school. That's all I knew. I was never around. I think the first time I was around coke was when I worked at the B&D club. And the one guy, he wanted to book an all-nighter session. And I was like, how do you do that? And, the owner said, well, he's on coke. So do you have a problem with him doing it? Because he would do it in session. And it made me so nervous. And I knew I couldn't get high off of it or whatever, but it scared me. That's how naive I was.
Well, I don't know, man. I'm around people a lot. It drives me crazy to be around people that are on blow. Now it's really unnerving to me. I do see it a lot. It's funny because it's kind of making a comeback in a lot of places, and it is. And I'm surprised by it when we're doing some of our festivals and it comes out, and I think, oh, isn't that cute? Right? That era is already done, right? That doesn't need to come back again. It doesn't. But I see that Lon May in the chat says you're a risk taker in porn and a whiskey taker. Whiskey, not risky taker.
That's cute.
Drinking.
Words.
Nice, your punster there. And Veronica says the wine rack is empty. I don't know if that's your wine rack. If somebody's like, look, that's somebody study in the background in your room.
Oh, that's my book. It's an empty bookshelf.
Okay, yeah, empty bookshelf. No more novels that you're reading right now.
Yes, there are, but I have yet to put them on my little bookshelf.
What are you reading?
Oh God, you're gonna call me out. I'm gonna run in.
These are the questions that you asked me to challenge. You challenged me to ask questions you haven't been asked.
I haven't gotten so far into it. This is what I'm looking at now. I'm big into holistic care, so.
Okay. Oh, your camera's flipped actually. So, all right, home apothecary, very forgotten home apothecary. Nice. Okay.
So there's
that's a fun one.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry, I'm gonna cut you off, but I'm gonna tell you. And then she was gone.
Oh, okay.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Actually, I'm reading some of the chat right now too. So Matt Norton, the Matty Rocks, he said, "Oh, an interview I've never done before. I'm one up on you." Yeah. So Matt's an interviewer that we've overlapped some guests in the past. Okay. I know he's probably envious, but you don't get her. No sloppy seconds for you, Matt. Sorry, buddy. Yeah. I was thinking about one of the conversations I heard you have, I think Jasmine Sinclair podcast. Yes. It was a really fun one. You guys, because you both had experience in the industry, so you could kind of play off that a little bit. And I think her perspective on a lot of people, she laughingly talks about being jaded. She's like, you know what? I just pretty much don't like or trust anybody anymore. It's just, she's just going to out. And you definitely seem to have a brighter light about people in general, which therapy and counseling and a lot of that it's a generous industry. Mm-hmm. You don't go into doing what you do just because you're after the money. That's not it. So there must be a part of your compassion that you're willing to share with people. That I think it's a fascinating thing. And you said that drugs and alcohol recovery is something you like the most.
Listen, it was so fun.
Well, you're still doing it though, right?
I'm not doing drug and alcohol anymore. Okay. I did that for 4 years, but I worked at a methadone clinic.
Oh, wow. So people are coming off heroin and so you're getting like brand new detoxes?
Brand new detoxes.
Jesus.
Yeah. And older, you continue with the older ones too, but I also did a lot of case management, counseling, kind of wrapped up all in one. It was just the most amazing let me tell you the stories that I heard. And these people, I say these people, I don't mean it in a negative way, but
sure,
they're amazing people. Like they have hearts of gold. I think people don't give people who are addicted enough credit. Like the human side.
Okay, I'm glad you bring that up. All right, so there's another overlap.
Okay.
I live in Portland, where outside there's been a lot of publicity about Portland, San Francisco, Seattle having, and you've been in Seattle a bunch, so yeah, there's certainly a homeless population.
Yes.
There's a population that's affected by heroin initially. Fentanyl is a big thing right now too, and I hear a lot of judgment.
Oh
And
yeah.
so about 10 years ago, a gal that I was dating and I started a nonprofit that was focused on, it was called Horns for the Homeless, Horns and Horns, where we used music, like compassion through music. And we would do outreaches where we were touching people on the street with music and bringing, clothing and some supplies to help them, try to at least recover. And a lot of my friends were so judgmental about these people, not realizing that those people are like any one of us that could have been affected.
Your brother, your cousin, your mom, your little sister, like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, most of those people that are there, they don't choose to be there. You would find certainly people on the streets that it was a conscious decision to kind of get off the grid. They didn't want to be part of society. There are some, and you probably saw a lot of that in the methadone clinics, right? And those stories are, but I just felt like it was important when we would do these outreaches. A lot of times, like the very first big public one, we had this school from Montana. My buddy brought all of his kids out. He was a teacher. He brought 76 kids out, and they brought sleeping bags and coats and brought sack lunches to all these people on the street. Yeah. And I said, more than delivering these things, what I really want you to do is I want you to talk to people. I want you to look them in the eye and have them tell you their story, because these guys were high school kids that had been they grew up in really affluent areas in Montana. They don't really want for anything. And for them to hear these stories, it's important to be understanding and be empathetic, So maybe from your experience, tell me some of these stories that maybe these people gave you that people should hear and know to understand them better.
Well, first of all, my sister is a recovering alcoholic. So she was an addict, and she's been clean. She's been sober now for 12 years. So I'm very, very proud of her. And I saw the struggle that she went through before, getting sober and after getting sober. And to this day, I know her. Like I knew her before the disease got so bad that it got so bad. We were drinking buddies when we were younger. It's just, I stayed here and she went here. So I knew who she was.
Same genes, same background, right? I mean, isn't that a strange thing, right? That the gene hits people in different ways.
Yes. Okay. Yes. But anyway, so I just have a heart that's kind of maybe started it. The empathy, the not, because I knew her underneath all the drunk episodes. Like I knew her heart. I knew her. Like so I'm going off subject, but
no, but it was close to home. So at least you could relate right, to her story.
When I see a person walk in for treatment and they're high, and then they're coming down, and then they're sick, on day one. And if you look at the same person in 60 days, like it's incredible.
Totally.
There's such a transformation, and that's who they are. It's incredible. It's incredible to see. I get excited to see the transformation, and it's a lot of fucking work. I mean, they work hard at it every day. And the counselors and everybody, the whole team, they work hard with them.
What was it that made you stop practicing in that field?
Oh, I just switched. Here we go to another. I also know sign language. So I was recruited to start a program for people. I work with people who have intellectual disabilities. So it was a program for people, a day program for people who had intellectual disabilities and were also deaf. Okay. So I built that program up.
Can you define intellectual disabilities?
What do you mean?
Well, okay, because I'm thinking. I think that I'm intellectually challenged at points, right?
Like, a lot of the people that I work with had like Down syndrome or autism. Okay. It was,
Okay, so the developmental
lower
like issues.
IQ.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just that's man. Again, I mean, talk about the
Mhm.
empathy going
Mhm.
into a situation because the roll of the dice for these people, right? There's
Mhm.
absolutely no reason that one person might be born with Downs
Mhm.
when another person, can be born into, an environment that was, they could be in the same household. It can be, right. Um, so essentially it was just not that it wasn't, beneficial to you. Well, it wasn't as exciting for you, but it was just a new opportunity came up and you put your
Yep.
effort into that,
Mhm.
built a program.
Yes.
Are you working within a hospital facility, or are you working in a private?
That was no, that was not it was a nonprofit. So
Okay.
now
Wow. Just
it's private. Yeah.
taking all the challenges on, man. They like but well, let me ask you, early on in this chat, I saw somebody was asking where you see yourself 5 to 10 years from now. I mean, that's appropriate for this conversation. Sounds like
Yeah.
you've kind of reinvented yourself every few years, right? So
I love change.
yeah,
I love it. So I don't know where in 5 years I probably won't be doing anything that I'm doing now.
sure. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
anything, right? I mean, you kind of returned to the biz in a way, right? I mean, aside from just doing like OnlyFans content, but did you get involved in like actually filming in the adult industry as
No,
well?
I've not. I've not done
Okay.
any filming with anybody else except for,
Okay.
my
Yeah.
friend there.
Your best friend?
My best friend.
Best friend there. Yeah. Uh, was you? Is that something you had an interest in?
Would I? I never say
Yeah.
never. I
Sure.
probably not boy girl ever. Oh, see there it did it again.
Yeah,
Uh,
that may have been like that may have been a real profound light shift right there. All of a sudden, the universe just said, "Hey, Nikki, it's time." No,
um, but I am seriously considering girls for 2025. Some
okay.
collaboration with girls. Yeah.
I just the only reason I ask is that the industry is certainly different than it was when you were, the
Yeah.
top. And somebody else in the chat had asked how you've seen things change. So, what is to you, um, if you were going to go into girl situation, what is it about the industry that you've seen that's different enough, but that still appeals besides potential money?
Um, the ability to, like you said, market yourself. There's a lot more avenues to make money. But I it's a lot of it's oversaturated now.
Yeah,
So it's bittersweet. There's opportunities, but you have to have a niche. You have to stand out. There's a lot of competition that way. Um, that's what's different. And I appreciate that. And the control that we have over what we do as far as everything, really.
sure. At
I
least
had
I mean,
final say back
accessibility.
then. But,
I mean, accessibility, availability to be able to distribute your stuff in whatever kind of format, and also be able to control how the money comes in and what goes on with the money, all of that.
mhm. Uh,
Okay,
and the same, it's still when it comes down to it, you're collaborating with somebody, you're having sex on film or
sure, yeah.
video now,
You know, in the conversations I've seen you have about the industry, I mean, I guess I keep coming back and circling around it, but it is a big talking point,
Mhm.
for Nikki Dial's life. You enjoyed sex. It was a fun. I mean, because it's fun. It's a great thing. You,
Yes.
did it kill some of your enthusiasm about it? Just to having be in front of lights and have it be such a
Mm-mm.
produced thing, or no?
No. In my
All right.
private life, no. 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 And I'm so I'm so much. I know people are gonna either love this or hate this, but I'm so much different in a lot of ways in my private life when I have sex. Like
Sure.
it's not that I'm faking it on film. It's real. And one of the things I said is when it stops being fun, I don't want to do it anymore. And that's when I
Sure.
left. But I enjoyed the hell out of it. But if you were to have sex with me, you know, in private, you might not be getting the same person that you got on film, although she's just as good. It's not.
Did you have partners that said, "Hey, I've seen you in these films before, and it wasn't the same experience"? Have you ever had somebody come back and say that was different?
I think. No, it's just when you're shooting a video, it's like you're positioning your body for the angles for the camera, what looks good. It's all about what the people are viewing, and from the outside in, there's none of that happening when I'm having. I don't give a fuck what I look like. Okay. I'm
Sure.
having fun. I'm doing it. I'm not worried about my angle and the position, and we're not shooting it. So it's just a different experience.
Yeah. Well, because there's so much accessibility to porn,
Yeah.
it's just everywhere. I
Yeah.
think, I would imagine people's perspectives on just sex in general, that sort of physical intimacy, is so different because they've been but they've been exposed to it everywhere, right? And I mean, you talk about that scene being in Billions, and I haven't seen it yet. Apparently, it's season 7, episode 7.
It's
That's what
season
somebody in the
7,
chat
episode 7.
said.
I know somebody said.
So guys, you can go out there and start racking it up on Netflix or Prime or whatever it's on. Um, but you wonder how much that's just the exposure to pornography has changed relationships, physical
Oh,
relationships with people, right? Because it's
yes.
night and day different between the 90s and now, for sure.
Yes. And there's a desensitization that comes along with like overstimulating yourself with porn and
Sure.
the type of porn. And I'm guilty of it too. Like I could sit there all day and, do my thing. But for a lot of people, when you start with, one thing which seems innocent, and then you need more and then more and then more, not even with porn, just like I guess with anything in life,
Anything. Yeah.
it can become a problem.
Sure. Do you, when you were like doing family therapy and talking about couples counseling, do you have that conversation with people saying, you know what, this is either can be a good thing and an asset or maybe a detriment?
Yes. I always say if you're doing it in the dark, what you do in the dark, if you're hiding it, there's a reason for you. You don't want somebody to know why and all of that. So if the couples were fine with it and nobody was hiding anything, and a lot of them were fine, go watch porn. I'm going to go in here and watch porn, or they watch it together.
Sure.
And it can be fun. It can be, I do it. I mean, it who doesn't love watching a good porn while you're having sex?
Okay, so if we went through Nikki Dial's like search history, what are we going to to for your?
I am not telling you.
Damn it! We're like, you guys all wanted to know that. It's an interesting conversation to have with somebody who's so familiar with the business, and on the other end of it, it deals with with families and couples and relationships. I just picture the couple that comes to you for therapy and says, I mean, things are good, but the sex in the bedroom is not really happening. And Nikki says, you know what?
Yeah.
I have a suggestion for this scene. I'm going to recommend this scene. You're just going to send them. Here's Nikki and Rocco in the kitchen.
That's so bad.
Well, you know what?
I'll
Double
come back
dip,
and
man.
tell you what you think.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Yeah.
You still stay in touch with some of your old coworkers?
Some of them I do.
Yeah.
Christy
Canyon. I see that Lon Maya in the chat was saying, yes, please, Nikki and Christy in 2025.
Oh, yeah. We would totally collaborate together.
Right on. I know that she and Ginger go out and cause trouble together too, it seems like.
All the time. They're best friends.
Yeah. I saw some videos of them at maybe Mandalay Bay or someplace in Vegas, she was posting on her Instagram, and I thought, those people in the pool have no idea what they're witnessing right now. That's royalty, in the pool. So but be careful. Yeah. Well, do you? When I was asking about people that you may stay in touch with, like I said, I just had the conversation with Mike Horner, where he and I hate to out him before he and I have the podcast together, but he's dating someone who had been both in the sex industry. It's a loosely based sort of term, right? But she was an escort and now is a sex therapist.
Okay.
And they're very comfortable, obviously, knowing about the industry, having sex for money, having sex for, a career. And I think the education part of this is it's titillating to talk about it until you actually get into the details and you realize that, man, for whatever reason, if somebody made conscious decisions about doing this for a career, then there are logical plans put in place. You put yourself in that position, kind of knowing what you were getting into. But did you, when you jumped into porn, was it what you expected, or was it a big change?
It was pleasantly not what I expected.
Okay.
And I did not begin with the end in mind. No, I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea I was going to become as big as I became. I thought nobody's ever going to know what I'm doing. I was homeless. So I thought I'm just going to,
Homeless.
Yeah.
Really?
In LA, I was homeless for a short time in LA when I moved out there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So hold on a sec. You can finish the story about the industry part, but how did you become homeless? Tell me about that.
Oh God. Well, I went out to California to meet some of my biological family.
Okay.
And in doing so, I had a falling out with him or them. And I was only 17.
You were couch surfing with them?
Pardon?
You were couch surfing with some family back then?
No, I was staying with I went out there to meet my biological family. So I was staying with them. And then we had a falling out. So I left to go to Hollywood. And I didn't have anywhere to go after that.
No job, and there was no job.
I was 17 and I was living in a car. Yeah.
And didn't know anybody else. So that's a little too close to home. How long were you in the car?
Not too long. My memory, I don't know if my memory is not the best. I tend to not remember things I don't want to remember, but
same.
Almost a month.
Okay. Not long enough.
Yeah.
God, I mean, do you sit back sometimes and think about the amount of adversity you've overcome from that time to where even in that time that you from that point to the time you got into movies and escalated quickly? I mean, how old were you when you did your first scene?
I want to say I was either late 18 or early 19.
Wow. Okay. And pretty much took off right away. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like you were,
and we didn't know back then. There was no social media to tell us how big we were.
Sure. Well, how did you know? Were you going to like award ceremonies and seeing that, or people recognize you on the street and asking for autographs?
Yeah, they started that, or I'd walk by a bookstore and see big posters, and then when I would do a convention or sign, it was like the lines were crazy, and I just had no idea.
That's okay. It's interesting, right? Because I think about the band, right? When we got a new single out and it's on the radio or it's on an MTV or whatever, and people are like, "Oh my God, the song is so big," and you're in the band, you're excited because you can tell that it's a big deal, right? People are buying records. But for you to walk by a bookstore and see your face on a poster, that's pretty badass. Yeah. You still have a lot of that stuff. Did you hang on to some of those things as souvenirs?
I have some of it. I do have some of it. Yes. There was a book where my hometown had a whole wall dedicated to.
Really?
It said, my home, so-and-so's hometown girl. And it was just everything.
Back in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Nice. They got a key to the city. They just you show up.
That.
Yeah. The mayor says, "Hey, we're going to do a little school tour. You can come around and tell the kids, hey, you know what? You stay in school, But I love the adversity stuff, though. I mean, like having been kicked and just, facing, because I mean, everybody has at some point, I mean, everybody's got a story of the parts where they hit their lowest point, and obviously some people can choose to be defined by it. Right. I mean, when you've done counseling and you talked about recovery counseling and even with abuse, some of that stuff can follow someone and they can never take themselves out of that. That becomes their story. Right. So their origin, started there and they don't get out of it, man. So So as far as recommendations and advice goes, if Nikki Dial at the 39 that you are right now can look back at Nikki Dial 16 or 17 when you're, sort of facing those lowest points, what would you go back and tell Nikki about what's to come and how to get out of it?
I don't know. I don't know. You got me.
Okay, I win.
I will.
No,
I will think about that though, and I will tell you.
Somebody posted on social media yesterday. It's a saying that you hear a bunch, especially in recovery, to trust the process. And
Yes.
a lot of it was related to the current political environment, and in this post in particular, and just a lot of stuff. I mean, the world itself suffered some pretty severe blows from COVID forward, and being able to trust the process that things are going to work out okay, and having faith in that is a challenge, especially if you don't have people in your court that are kind of helping cheer you on. So I would think that the people that you've helped in the past are certainly, they benefit from some of this, and you've got a great, group of people here in the chat that are involved in, your goings on. But I'm trying to think about, for Nikki Dial in the future, you talked about working with intellectually challenged, not challenged. The term was disabled, intellectually disabled, and developmentally disabled as well, right? So you're making a big difference with people's lives. So I mention this because at the end of most of the podcasts I do, I oftentimes ask people what it is that they feel like they want their legacy to be.
My legacy. Oh, well, when I was in 8th grade, when everybody everybody voted most.
Yeah.
Fill in the blank. So I got voted, I'll never forget, Miss Congeniality.
Yeah.
And I really would, I guess I would want people to remember me for my acceptance of everybody and just, being non-judgmental, and just everybody at some point needs somebody. And I will always be open to being that somebody if you don't have one. That's just how I feel. I'm not getting teary.
That's beautiful. I love it. I mean, at the end of the day, right? That's the stuff that's most important. You've had the notoriety, you've had the stardom and all this, and certainly like people revere you for what they saw on screen. But ultimately, you said relationship wise or in the bed is different than what you saw on screen. We put forth a persona in the entertainment industry regardless, right? So who you see on stage might not be who you see in real life.
Right. It's a part of her. It's a part of
you. For sure. I've been guilty of probably putting way more of myself into my industry because I'm too open a lot of times, right? I welcome people in, and sometimes you mentioned being there for these people that are in need. And I've been that person that will deplete all my resources, right? At the end of the day, I realize, wow, I didn't save any for me. I did that.
That's important.
So you do? Are you able to do that for yourself?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
That's one thing with counseling, and then working in drug and alcohol. If you don't have a boundary, it doesn't even have to be a spoken boundary, but you know what your boundary is, and you don't, people will walk all over you. That will not happen. No, not to me.
That's, man, good for you.
As nice as I am, right?
Well, you know what though? I mean, that's the thing. If you can be nice and actually still have boundaries, then that's the key, right? Because there may be a tendency to be so nice that you allow yourself to be walked on or to taken advantage of. I think about upbringing, and I've kind of gone back to this a bit because I saw somebody mention this in the chat. There was a point where you talked about conversation you had with your dad. You said one thing I learned from my dad. And you mentioned growing up, single mom, and poor mom had to endure, Nikki getting into some trouble, which kids do.
Yes.
But relationship with your pop, how was that?
Very good. I
Awesome.
had a beautiful relationship with my father. He passed away about 5 years ago now, and I have no regrets. No.
That's a beautiful thing. I mean,
Yeah.
my dad passed away earlier this year too,
Mm.
and the guy he was my hero, right? I mean, he
Oh,
started me with music. Both of my parents really supportive. One thing I'm grateful for, and it sounds to me like you kind of were there too. I mean, you said you have no regrets. I was fearful that I wasn't going to get all the stuff out, be able to talk about all the stuff that needed to be said and understood and heard before
mhm.
my dad passed,
Oh,
and I got to spend time with him. We had a great relationship all the way up to the end, but there were things that I just wanted to be able to talk to him about that a lot of people don't get to,
yeah.
and I've seen other friends as I'm older than you, I think, and quite a bit, and um, a lot of my friends have all lost parents recently, and a
Mhm.
lot of them had
We're about
regret.
there. Mhm.
They just didn't get a chance to say that thing, and a lot of it
Yeah.
had to do with pride. A
Mhm.
lot of people were stubborn, and so they didn't allow themselves to be vulnerable enough to talk
Yeah.
about stuff that was uncomfortable. So um, I would hope that, and I've shared this a bunch in this show on the different interviews. I encourage people to get out there, put your pride in check, man. Put your ego
Yeah.
aside and have
It's
those
only gonna
conversations.
hurt for like 5 seconds. Then the
Ultimately,
uncomfortableness is over.
I think it makes things stronger. Honestly, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's like relationships. I mean, if you're unable to have the hard
Yeah.
conversations in a relationship, then you don't build a foundation of really solid stuff anyway, right? So,
No.
it, man, we
No.
we covered the gamut.
I know, I feel
We
like I
did.
could keep talking.
Oh,
We're
well,
check
and we
we're
could. I
check
mean, I with Ginger, we had a little break because she was working on her book, and we got closer to the point where we had her on for a part two. And
Okay.
of course, she had her stories are super racy, and she
Yes.
didn't hold anything back. And it was funny. I made her second episode a members only episode, as you know, and it even had to be a two-parter too because we
That's
went on
funny.
forever. But I would love to have you back on, and
I
I
would love
think
to.
the great thing is you've got a bunch of people in the chat that are familiar with their work and with your work, and they've followed you throughout your adult industry career. But I love your willingness to talk about the rest of life because that's a big part of the rest of your plan.
Yeah.
Like the other days on the Nikki Dial planet are they're numerous, and
Mhm.
um, so it would be fun. It'd be, maybe when we're out on the road, come out to see a show,
Okay.
and I'll drag you and Christy Canyon and Ginger Lynn and all the old gang. You guys
Oh,
come
that
in,
would be
and
hilarious.
I don't think a room could handle that much energy actually. But it'd be funny. Are you so aside from your cameo, anything else that we can help promote? You want to promote your OnlyFans? Is it let me see if I can find
You
all
can
the
do that,
links
or
that I can put in
you
here.
can go to I have an all my links. I believe
Okay.
it's all my links, like / Nikki Dial, and and you can everything is there. And if I
Okay.
got that wrong, if you just go to my X page, my Twitter page, it's in my bio.
Okay. Actually, I'm going to put it right here. I
Okay.
also have
Yeah.
I have show notes. So if you guys came and you didn't know about this, you can go to I'm sorry, if you go to accesskevin.com, that website has everything there. I'll have this
Okay.
episode. I'm also going to have a link to
Right.
allmylinks.com/Nikki Dial. That's right. Oh, look at that. Nice. Yeah. Hold on. I wish I could screenshot that. That was actually impressive. Thank you, Vanna. That was well done. Yeah. So everybody, make sure you subscribe. Go out there and buy yourself some wonderful Valentine's Day gifts from Nikki Dial. And I would love it, guys, if you came here and didn't know this already. I'm going to pimp this again too. If you go to
Yeah.
youtube.com/@accesskevin, you subscribe to this channel. I've got
I'm
fun ones
giving you a
coming
little
up.
tap.
I that is beautiful. How much do I owe you? The I've got some fun guests coming up. I got Kip Winger. Were you a Winger fan at all?
I did listen to Wigger.
Okay,
It
all right.
sounded like
Well,
I said Winger.
when you were 17.
Yeah.
Well, that was okay. That was a tough thing. We're gonna have that conversation with Kip because he was around 30 when he released that song. She's only 17. Her
Oh
daddy
yeah.
says she's too young, but she's old enough for me. Different
Well,
times,
she's
man. He
of
became.
the age of consent.
It depends on what state,
Well,
honestly, right? So
16 is usually
anymore.
them. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's by the state, right? Who knows? Anyway, Kip Winger's coming up. I've got a great band, The Exquisite Taste of Plain Water. I've got a remarkable Marina V from Los Angeles. She's a wonderful pianist. I've got all sorts of amazing guests, including Mike Horner coming up. So, guys, subscribe to this channel. There's tons of good stuff. And if you're a member, you'll get access to like the Ginger Lynn episode with all the racy content.
Nice.
Hurst, did you watch that one that I sent you?
I did not.
It's okay. No, it's okay. I just was going to say, I don't know how deep she gets into it, but if you guys are watching, she's got a story about Charlie Sheen and Billy Idol that you do not want to miss. It's going to be in her book. The Billy Idol story is ridiculous. It's crazy. And I don't know that should even be allowed on YouTube, but you know. So yes, everybody here, you're asking for more Nikki. You'll get it. We're going to do it again, but you guys have to go out and take care of like the people in your life for Valentine's Day. Get out there and do it. What are you doing for Valentine's Day, Nikki?
I don't know. I don't really have any. I was gonna do a live stream on my OnlyFans maybe, but I don't know.
That would be a very romantic thing for your subscribers to have as part of yours. Well, hopefully, if you guys get out there and you have not yet subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Onlyfans.com/Nikki Dial. And congratulations on your Hall of Fame award. I think that's.
Thank you.
Were you there? You received the award. They did a presentation and all that. You got to celebrate.
Are you being serious?
I am serious.
No, I'm just kidding. No, they did not. I didn't even know I won.
Are you kidding me?
No, a fan told me. And then yeah. But so one of the gentlemen, Dan Miller, he did mail me. I just got it. He mailed it to me. So I was very thankful for that. But no, I had no idea.
So did they send an award in the mail?
I do have it. I have it.
Let's get it. Get that sucker down off the mantle. Let's take a look.
Yeah. Hold on. I'll be right back.
All right. Awesome. This is great. If you guys came and you did not know that the amazing Nikki Dial, I'm going to put the link back up here again. You can not only get access to all of the accounts that she has, but you can also subscribe to her OnlyFans. So make sure you do that. Yes. There she is. All right. So here it is. 2024 AVN Adult Video News. Oh, here, hold on. Before you do this, I'm gonna put you to work. There's a little gear underneath the window. If you hit that. Yep, we're going to have you do video and then mirror camera. Hit that little mirror camera toggle underneath the gear under settings.
Okay. You're going to, this is not, I'm good at many things, Kevin.
Oh, you know what? I'm just challenging you because we want to take a look at this thing. Right?
All right. I'm at settings.
Okay. So the settings and then go down to video on the left.
Video on the left. Okay, video.
Yeah, so use general video and then go down the bottom of that. It says mirror camera. Hit that little toggle.
Oh, look at that.
Awesome. Look. Oh, man, a whole new Nikki Dial that we got to see right there. Awesome. All right. And here, I'm going to make you bigger on here so that we can really take a look at this award. All right. Hold that baby up and let's take a look at this. Look at that. 2024 AVN Awards Hall of Fame video branch Nikki Dial. That's beautiful.
It is heavy.
Then, look at that. Yeah, that's a solid piece of work. That's a couple and a nice embrace right there.
And here's the thing. I don't know if people know this, but I love this award because I've always loved the abstract figures of the couples embracing. And I have a tattoo of that on my back.
Do you?
Yeah.
I won't ask you to show that one off. That's okay. That's for people to see on the OnlyFans, right?
Yeah,
so that's okay. I love it. Well, that it makes it it's a little classier, right? The abstract embrace it's not as gratuitous as two people deep.
Exactly.
It's
what you don't see that's sexy.
I agree. I would rather have the imagination for sure. I'm not trying to toot my own horn at all because this was a really tough thing for me. 2000. I'll show you because I never showed this at all on my show. But hold on.
Okay. Oh, I feel very special.
All right. So 2022, I got the Oregon Music Hall of Fame Award.
Oh,
I was inducted. And
I like it. What's it say? Okay.
I got too close there. It was the the Oregon Music Hall of Fame. It was the 15th
Okay.
annual induction ceremony. I
Oh,
I have like this strange sense of imposter syndrome with that. When they contacted me and I really, there are, I mean, you went to see Journey, right? So I'm a
mhm,
huge fan of the legacy of that band, the drummer, the bass player, dear old friends of mine.
mhm.
And I'm like, man, Dean, the drummer, you saw him, right? An amazing drummer, amazing vocalist. You probably saw
Mhm.
him sing some songs. You may not remember, but he sings.
Okay.
And I thought that guy needs to be in before me. I don't deserve to be
Aw.
in. And it was tough. And the girl that I'm dating, she's wonderful. I never told her. She did some research on me after we started dating, and she said, oh my God, that's awesome. And she made a bigger deal about it. And then she said, why aren't you so proud of that? And I was like, man, I think it's the imposter syndrome. I thought, there's a
Oh,
million other people that were more deserving. I love that you embrace it. You seem really comfortable and
and here's
happy
the
and proud.
be humble, but also know your worth.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
you're very
yeah, maybe
talented, so you got to own that.
I, I just, there in my mind, and maybe that self-deprecation is like, oh, there's so many people more worthy, but I am
Well,
grateful.
there
I am
probably are,
grateful. For sure.
and there's some less.
Now,
But let's say you're never the prettiest in the room.
you're never what? I'm sorry.
You're never the prettiest person in the room or the
Uh,
smartest. I mean, there's always somebody out there prettier, younger, smarter, more talented, but that doesn't discount any talent you have. And I'm not saying you're not talented.
no, but actually, I
Yeah.
think people right there should take that to the bank. They should be sending you Venmo for that advice right there. Just keeping that humility in place. Somebody out in there asked about your Venmo, so I'm sure they could probably find your Venmo on all my links, right? So they can
My
just send you some
Venmo,
dough.
I don't, it might be on all my links.
Okay,
That's
let's see.
very kind.
Oh yeah, there's a Venmo and a Cash App
Okay.
on you. Yeah,
Oh, look
send
at
her some
that. Look
money.
at that.
Get out there. Yeah, people. Hit all my links. Cash App, Venmo. Absolutely. Yeah. So you're never
Thank
the prettiest in the room. You're never the smartest in the room,
or the youngest.
or the youngest. Damn it. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'll just settle for being
Listen,
pretty. I'm okay with
that
that. That's
you're very pretty.
it's pretty on the inside. That's all I want to be. That's all I care about. Right. So, Nikki, this is awesome. I really appreciate your time. And it was fun to get to know you, So
Yes, it was fun to be here.
let's plan to do it again.
Okay.
If you get an opportunity, make sure that guys, if you get Kim and you have not yet done so, go out, hit her OnlyFans, hit all the links that you can to help support her.
Yes.
I would love it if you subscribe to this channel too. Share away. You'll be able to see,
Yes.
plenty of other amazing guests. And at the end of the day, I ask that you all just be good humans, man, be good to each other. We need more of the positivity and people like the
Yes.
beautiful Nikki Dial. Thank you, sister. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.